What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel, and this is going to be a crazy video because a little over an hour ago the NBA trade deadline just hit. The deadline was at 3 p.m. Eastern for all the teams to make their deals, and it was really one of the craziest trade deadlines we've seen in a while. So just to sort of recap it a little bit, I'm going to go over all the major moves and then just rattle off some moves at the top of my head that I thought were pretty significant or moves that should be talked about. So the first thing I want to start with, we're just going to start from the beginning. The first major move at the trade deadline was the Nets trading Kyrie Irving to the Dallas Mavericks for Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and some draft picks. So on both sides of the deal, the Mavs, they definitely took a risk because Kyrie Irving is a player that you simply cannot trust to consistently be on the basketball court, whether he's injured, whether he doesn't feel like playing, or something happens that makes him not available to play basketball. And that seems like it happens every season. And even this year with the Nets, it's like they're fine. They're a 2 seed before KD gets injured, and then KD gets injured, they slide down a little bit to 4th, and then all of a sudden he wants to be traded. Just completely blindsided them. It's always something with Kyrie Irving, but when you look at the product on the basketball court, I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic because Luka is a very ball-centric player. He has the ball in his hands a lot. But I think a guy like Kyrie Irving is going to take a lot of pressure off of him in big moments, in big games. And Kyrie Irving is a closer. He's one of the most clutch players in the league. You can depend on him to make big shots when your team needs it the most. And when you look at this trade for the Nets, they got back Spencer Dinwiddie, they got back DFS Dorian Finney-Smith. They're obviously looking for the future now, and we'll get into that in a second because they made another big move that basically rocked the whole NBA world. But sticking on this trade for a little bit longer, Kyrie did make his debut with the Mavs last night against the Clippers, scored 24 points, I believe. Luka didn't play, so I'm just excited to see how this dynamic is going to work when Luka Doncic is healthy, because both of these guys, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, are without a doubt two of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA. And with both of them on the basketball court, it's going to be a show in Dallas. And if they can figure that dynamic out, they're going to be a huge threat in a now Western Conference that is unbelievably stacked. It's going to be insane how the Western Conference plays out this year. But that was the first major deal, Kyrie Irving to the Mavs. My overall opinion on it is I like it for Dallas because I like that Jason Kidd, Mark Cuban, they knew they needed to get Luka some help. The Mavs were a 5th seed, I believe, before they traded for Kyrie, but they knew that this formula of Luka essentially carrying the team was not going to work out. The Mavs this year, when Luka didn't play, they literally could not win without him. They were 0-6, I believe, without Luka Doncic. I'm pretty sure that's how many games he's missed this year, and they didn't win a single one of them. So in terms of value, Luka is definitely one of the most valuable players in the league, and getting a guy like Kyrie Irving to be his number 2 option is great. It's great for Luka on the basketball court, but it's just going to depend on whether or not Kyrie is going to be trusted, if you can trust him to play basketball. And another thing with that is he has a decision to make this summer because, like I said in my last video, he's going to be a free agent. And who's to say he won't bolt and go sign with the Lakers or whatever team he wants to go to. So the Mavs may be traded for a rental. It'll pay off if they win the title or make it to the finals. Who knows? So that was the first big trade. And then the other big trade that happened yesterday, one of 2 big trades that happened yesterday, was Russell Westbrook finally got shipped out of LA. It wasn't working anymore. Reports are coming out that the relationship was basically toxic on both sides. Both sides wanted a divorce. Both sides just didn't see this working. So it was a 3-team deal. I'm just going to try and remember it the best I can. So Russell Westbrook and a first-round pick got sent to Utah, and Mike Conley of the Utah Jazz was sent to Minnesota, and the Lakers got Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley in return for Russell Westbrook. There was one more player they got in return. I can't remember it off the top of my head. So basically the trade deadline for the Lakers, they got Rui Hachimura, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, and I think it was a great deadline for the Lakers because what they did was they got younger and added shooters, and that was something that they needed because all the talk with the Lakers is, oh, they're trading, they're mortgaging their future to get AD and LeBron and Russell Westbrook and whoever else, Kyrie Irving, if they were going to get him. And so what they did was they're able to get younger and they were able to address their needs. I think they addressed their needs with scoring with Malik Beasley. He's going to be a great bench scorer for them. Jared Vanderbilt could be a good defender for them. And Hachimura could be okay at defense and then a good scorer off the bench. So they definitely addressed some of the needs that they had. But most importantly, they got Russell Westbrook off the team because it was not working with the Lakers. He was playing a little bit better this year as a bench player, starting to embrace his role coming off the bench. But you can't bring Russell Westbrook off the bench. It just ultimately long term was not going to last. And you could still see some of the issues in terms of team chemistry that existed with the Lakers. And let's just talk about some of the other teams. The Utah Jazz, they have a bunch of draft picks over the next few years, so they are in a great position for their rebuild. Lauri Markkanen, first-time All-Star, are they going to try and build around him for the future, or could he also be on the move this summer and the Jazz just completely start over and try and basically build it up from the top? And then when you look at the Timberwolves, I think it's safe to say at this point the Rudy Gobert trade was just simply a bust. It did not work out. They're a thing. I don't even know if they're a better team at this point in the season than they were last year. They're basically a fringe play-in team right now, with Anthony Edwards doing all he can to keep the team afloat, with Karl Anthony Towns still out. He hasn't played in a very long time. And just the fit was questionable from the start, and they gave up so much to get him. 5 first-round draft picks. I mean, the Suns just gave up 4 first-round picks for KD. KD is definitely a better player than Rudy Gobert. And so the Timberwolves, they're definitely not by any means like done for the season. They can still make a push, be competitive, and get a playoff spot. But I just think in terms of what they were hoping to get from the Rudy Gobert trade, it's safe to say that's not what they're going to get, and it looks like to be a mistake up to this point. So that was the second big trade that happened yesterday. Let me know what your guys' thoughts were on that. Russell Westbrook going to Utah, likely to get bought out, and so yeah. But that wasn't the only big trade that happened yesterday, Wednesday night. I'm recording this video on Thursday. The biggest trade that happened was Kevin Durant being traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Phoenix Suns. This trade happened at about I think 10, 11 o'clock. So most people were probably asleep and they woke up to the news that KD's on the Suns. And it was just something that I don't think we were expecting. It did come out that once Kyrie was traded, the Suns were going to pursue KD if he was available. And I don't think the Nets made it clear that he was available. So that's why it was something that was completely took the league and fans by shock, because nobody was expecting KD to get moved, because they looked at the roster that they got after the Kyrie trade and all the pieces that they had and said, okay, KD can still do something with this team. They can still be competitive. And I guess they just weren't having it. And so I guess the Nets are sort of embracing a rebuild too. And so in that trade, the Suns sent over Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and 4 first-round draft picks to the Nets, and they got in return both Kevin Durant and TJ Warren. And so when you look at the Suns now, they're in a position, I think there's absolutely no excuses for them not to make the finals if everybody stays healthy. You have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and that's who I'm looking at in particular. Chris Paul, this is your last chance, buddy. If you don't make the finals, if you don't win a championship, just call it quits after this, because I don't know how much help he can get and still come up short time and time again. Yes, the Western Conference is stacked, but if you don't win it this year, then I don't know what to tell you, because you have Kevin Durant, arguably the greatest scorer in NBA history, eye test wise, one of the most skilled players of all time. Devin Booker, one of the best wing players in the game, one of top 2 or 3 shooting guard easily when he's healthy. You can argue if he's the best, or he might be the best. You can argue that. Some folks might say Jaylen Brown, others will have other opinions on that, but whatever. The point is, you have a stacked roster around you, and you still have DeAndre Ayton too. The depth might be an issue, but in terms of star power, there isn't a team with greater star power in the West right now, other than probably, even though they're a 13th seed right now, the Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. They're still both arguably top 5 players when they're at their peak and playing at their best. And so this is going to be a huge second half of the season after the All-Star break for the Suns, because when Devin Booker got injured, they started to slide way down in the standings, and then they picked it up a little bit before he returned. So he's back healthy now. Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, the thing to watch for them will be, are they going to get injured? Because these guys have shown that they are not immune to injuries. Chris Paul is only getting older. He's only going to get weaker in terms of how much longer his body can last. KD is in the midst of a month-long injury that's keeping him out. Not going to be back until probably after the All-Star break. And so that's going to be the thing to watch for with the Suns, because they have to stay healthy in order to make it out of the West. And when you look at the West, there's a bunch of teams that are sandwiched in there right now. You got the Kings, who have been very good all season long. Nobody's really acknowledging them. And they're a 3rd seed right now. And it's scary territory for them, because with all these teams loading up in the West, they need to maintain their standing as a top 6 seed. I'm not sure how realistic it is to expect them to stay in the top 3, but staying in the top 6, what they've done up to this point, is definitely not too much to ask, especially with how well De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis have been playing. And by the way, De'Aaron Fox should be an all-star since Steph Curry is not playing. Please make it happen, Adam Silver. Whoever's job that is to put guys in the all-star game to replace other players. Put De'Aaron Fox in the all-star game, please. So, yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Kevin Durant going to the Phoenix Suns. And another thing is, this just made the East a whole lot easier for both the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Sixers. Those are the top 3 teams in the East. Brooklyn's out. They're not doing anything. And so when you look at the Bucks, I want to talk about the Bucks for a second. They just got Jay Crowder. They sent 5 first-round picks to the Nets, or not first-round picks, 5 second-round picks, to the Nets in exchange for Jay Crowder. And they sent George Hill, Jordan Nwora, Serge Ibaka, 3 guys who weren't even in their rotation anymore, to the Pacers. So basically, the Bucks didn't have to give up any key rotational players. All they had to do was trade bench guys who weren't even playing and 5 second-round picks to the Nets for Jay Crowder. And people are going to freak out about the 5 first-round picks, because the second people read 5 second, I keep saying first-round picks, 5 second-round picks. The second people read that, people are going to freak out and be like, you can't give up that many draft picks for Jay Crowder. You have to look at, this is how you have to look at it if you're the Bucks. You have Giannis. He's the best player in the league right now in his prime, and you're in a peak position to win championships. I don't think the East has been this, not wide open, but like the star power has definitely shifted back towards the West, in my opinion, in terms of which conference has the tougher players. And I think for Milwaukee, the only thing they have to worry about, honestly, is getting by the Celtics. And I think if they have Chris Middleton healthy, and Jay Crowder is going to help them because he fits them perfectly. He can shoot threes, and more importantly, they got him for defense. They got him so that he can guard 1 through 5, any position. He can switch onto anybody. And what I like the most about this move is that it allows the Bucks to go small in key moments in big playoff games, because they can put Grayson Allen and Brook Lopez on the bench. They can close with a lineup of Drew. I think Wesley Matthews would be a good closing 2 guard. Chris Middleton at the 3, Crowder at the 4, and you have Giannis at center. And with Giannis at center, they don't play drop coverage, because that's what they do with Brook Lopez. And the reason they do that is because he's too slow and too unathletic to actually guard anyone man-to-man. That's why most of his defensive work is done in the paint, protecting the rim. And so they don't play drop coverage with Giannis at center, which means teams just can't abuse them at pick and roll. And I think the only thing that's stopping the Bucks is Mike Budenholzer. He just has to get the rotation right in the playoffs. There should really only be 9 guys maximum playing in the playoffs, and those are their starting 5. So Drew, Chris, Giannis, Brook, and I assume Bobby's going to be their starting power forward. Or no, it's Drew, Grayson Allen, Chris, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. That's the starting 5 they like to go with. So those guys will play Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, and Jay Crowder coming off the bench, and that will be their playoff rotation. And I think in a series against the Celtics, they're going to want to not play Brook Lopez as much or Grayson Allen and give Jay Crowder a lot of run, and that's why they got him. I think with Jay Crowder, the Bucks match up well against any team in the East. I don't see them not matching up well with any team, because they have a guy who can guard the other team's best scorer man-to-man and make it difficult on him, so that guys like Giannis and Chris will have more energy for offense, and they don't have to do that. And so, yeah, this video is getting kind of long. I just wanted to talk about those 3 major trades. The Bucks got Jay Crowder. Some other trades, the Rockets got Eric Gordon, Luke Kennard going to the Grizzlies, Jaden McDaniels going to the Sixers. Reggie Jackson got traded to the Hornets. He's probably going to get bought out. What else? The Warriors got Gary Payton II back for 5 second-round picks that they got in a 3-team deal with them, the Pistons, and the Hawks. They traded James Wiseman away. I guess the James Wiseman experiment in Golden State is over, so he gets a chance to start fresh in Detroit. And yeah, that's mostly it. A very packed trade deadline. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this year's NBA trade deadline. Definitely one of the wildest ones we've seen in a while. Make sure to like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to the channel, and make sure to find all my content linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching.